What's going on, bringers? Welcome to your 30-second Android tutorial. And now what we're going to get into is touch events, because yeah, we can draw it to our canvas, that's all neat and everything, but we want some user interaction where they can touch it, touch the canvas somewhere or the screen, and then we'll draw like our little blue ball or something, or change actually the position of our X value and our Y value. And just in case you guys are just now following along, within our main activity we want to have this implements OnTouchListener, because that's going to allow us to process the touch events and all that good stuff. And once we implement it, it creates this method for us called onTouch, kind of like onClick, and that's where we're going to allow our application to process those events, get the values of where it was touched and all that good stuff. Oh, and also before we get into this, just to show you guys, actually I probably won't show you anything, but our canvas is already redrawing itself. That's kind of why we have this thread. It's going through this this loop here because we set up this while value. While is okay, it's true, and our surface is good to go. We're just going to go through this cycle. So we could just say like x equals x plus 1, or x plus equals 1, or something like that, and that'll just add 1 to our value and we'll get some sort of animation. So it's already checking, processing our canvas, redrawing it. That's the loop that we're going to have. And now what we're going to do is we're going to go within this onTouch method, and we get passed in some things. We get passed in a view, and we get passed in an event motion, which we called ME. And now what we're going to do is we're going to set up our X value to equal basically wherever they touched on our screen. So we're going to say me dot get X. And as you can see, it returns a float. So that's why we defined our X value as a float instead of an int when we set up these values. Again, this me is our motion event, so once our screen is touched, it's going to give us some information, and we have a method called getX. We also have a method called getY, so let's do that. Me equals dot getY, and now let's just check this out, see what we got going here. So go into our surface view class, and once we click, as you can see, our bitmap gets drawn in the center of wherever we click. Pretty cool, pretty simple. All we're doing is within our touch event, we're changing the X value to wherever the touch event occurred, and we're setting our X value equal to the X of that touch event and our Y value to the Y of the touch event. And again, the reason it's showing up in the center of where we click is because within our canvas drawing we minused half the width of the bitmap. So if you guys want, you can delete this part of code, and you can delete this part of code, and then you'll see it will be, it won't look like it's appearing where we're touching. So that's kind of why we did that in the previous tutorial. But let's get a little bit more specific, because there's some other things that we can do with a touch event. We can get right when the person touches, when they drag, when they release. We can process all of those events. So let's just get into that, show you guys how to do that as well. We're going to set up a quick switching case for a motion event. So we're going to say switch, and we're going to grab again the motion event, which we called ME. We're going to say dot get action. And there's a few different actions that we can process, like I was saying, when they touch down and when they release. So those are going to be basically our cases. So we're going to say case, and then we're going to refer to the motion event class. So we're going to say motion event, and then we can say dot, and we have all these different things that we can do, which we might get into later, but the ones that we're going to show for now is the action down. So that could be one of the things that could happen within this switching case. We're just going to add a break statement, and we'll define it later. And there's also the case motion event dot action action up as well. So I'm just going to go here and then add a break, and let's say there's also a drag as well. So motion event dot move. We'll say move. So that's kind of the dragging while they're like moving around. And I'll just quickly, just to show you guys, we're just going to cut this here. We're going to cut this line of code because we kind of already know what that does. Again, I just click, I'm dragging, nothing happens, and I release here. So that's basically the same as just pasting this line of code here. Let me run it and clip the video so you guys can see what's going on. So once we go into our class, it's pretty much the same thing. Once we click, it appears, it processes that motion event, says, hey, we're just looking for the action down within this case as well. So let's just paste this within our action up and see what happens there. And also one other thing we have to do before we run this in order for it to work is we need to also change this return to a true because otherwise it's going to go through, it's going to get like this first, hey, this action down happened, break the switch in case, and we return to false, and it's like, okay, I'm pretty much done with this onTouch method. When we return true, it's still going to, look for all these actions, whether it be action down and action up, and it'll kind of, not necessarily do a loop, but it will process more than one of these handling events. So let's just run it now after we turn that to true, and we also have our X and Y values set up here. So now when we go, we hit action down, and it creates our X and Y value that we have over there. I'm still holding my mouse down, but once we release, it's going to call the action or the motion event action up, and then it will set our X and Y values once it hits this case of action up. So then we get a new ball here when we release. So again, we have this and then this, and you guys can probably already guess what this is going to do, this action move. It's basically going to consistently update it. So now when we save and run our application, it should drag along with us as we're moving our touch event, our motion event, I should say. So we're going to go in here, and as you can see, I'm dragging and the ball is following along because it's calling this motion event move, and it's resetting our X and our Y values, and then wherever we release it, just keeps it there. So that's kind of an introduction of motion events or touch events that use motion events to kind of handle our information here. So nothing too sweet, but also another thing that you guys might want to do if you guys end up developing a lot of these touch events is it's handling a lot of data right now. It's trying to update everything as quickly as possible, and we don't necessarily need that because again, we're returning true, so it's trying to process everything every time there's a new motion event. So it's going through the switch in case a ton of times, so that might hold us up. So what we're going to do is just create a quick sleep method within our touch event. So each time it gets called, we're going to let it sleep a little bit and then be like, hey, figure out what event's going on right now. So all we're going to do is we're going to say thread dot sleep, nothing new here. Let's let it sleep 20 times per second. But that's a lot better than trying to update as fast as it can. So again, when we use this method, we have to surround it with a try and catch. If we just hover over here, we have this try and catch here, adds it for us, prints to the stack trace, kind of basic stuff there. But now we have a sleep, a little sleep clause in there, and it'll just help us out a little bit more. And that's pretty much it, I believe, for what I'm going to do with this surface view. But the next tutorial, I'll probably go over everything again, why we set up a thread, and just kind of review everything. So you guys feel free to skip the next tutorial, but if you're still a little bit lost on what we've done, make sure you check out the next tutorial. So thanks again for watching, guys, and subscribing, giving thumbs up, all that good support you guys do, and I'll catch you guys then. Have a good one.